In my school, we mostly eat with chopsticks and spoons. But I have one friend who mostly eats with fork or by hand. She's American. Since my Korean friends never had much contact with people from different cultures, they spoke ill of the trend in Korean. That meant my American friend would not understand what they were talking about, but she still noticed their actions and looks. It made her feel left out, excluded. Just because a friend is from a different place doesn't mean we should exclude them for being different. According to the National Association of School Psychologists, people often overlap words such as racism, prejudice, and discrimination, but they should be applied in different ways. Racism refers to hatred from one's belief in their racial superiority, while prejudice is unjustified negative emotions. Discrimination is mistreatment of others based on their actual or perceived group membership. Hatred because of belief, negative emotions, and mistreatment are connected in some ways, but not always. Prejudice is an issue that I want to mainly focus on, to instill the idea that we can overcome prejudice through empathy and connectivity. Prejudice can spark on a whim, and we often believe these prejudgments without looking more closely at the whole picture. One example is prevalent in this current society, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. These are some reports of prejudice during the pandemic. The Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights also supports this, saying, "There has been a significant increase in racial verbal abuse, harassment, and violence in public spaces, particularly targeting the Asians in the context of this current crisis." This means that people who look like me, my family, my classmates are being targeted and misunderstood as the reason for this crisis. Prejudice does not happen specifically, like against one particular race. In other words, we encounter prejudice everywhere, against everyone, and in ways that we all experience at one time or another. Stopping prejudice is hard to imagine if we do not have a specific goal that works towards such an overwhelming task. An example of a specific goal could be as simple as making friends from different cultures. This may include neighbors. To stop prejudice among my friends and classmates, I also tried this, making a foreign friend new to school. At first, we didn't have much affinity, and it was awkward at times. But we developed into a great friendship, and now, most of my thoughts and negative feelings about unfamiliar people and customs gradually faded. And I did this so that I could learn about different cultures, and also I wanted to help others by imagining how they would feel. And I want to give you some advice about how to stop prejudice through empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Being able to be vulnerable and open to connect with people is the key. First, we can develop and express empathy by imagining how others would feel given in a situation. To do this, you must understand that everyone's feelings and thoughts are valid. We cannot judge others without truly knowing about them. If you're excluded and people assume stereotypes that didn't correspond to you, would you be pleased? And yet this happens almost universally. I haven't actually lived in a foreign country, but I have traveled to diverse countries, and one of them is Malaysia. I toured around some schools there, and there were students there from me, as always. I absolutely knew none of the Malay language, but I could feel their eyes on me and their attention on me, because they suddenly started to talk more while I was around. This brings me to the next point that I want to present to you, is to learn a new language. This is a great way to connect and care with other human beings because we make ourselves vulnerable in our desire to communicate and collaborate with people. Everyone needs to be vulnerable and open to new possibilities because it's uncomfortable to hear yourself speaking in a language that you haven't mastered yet. I am learning and still learning Chinese. I'm not fluent at it, unlike English or Korean. Even English, which I'm speaking right now, and Korean, which is my first language, also feels strange sometimes. And this is the point of why I am suggesting you to learn a new language. By learning others' communication system, we can interact with a wide range of people. If I could have communicated in Malay, I could have learned about them, and they could have learned about me. Whenever we travel to a new place, people start talking in their native language that you cannot understand. How does that make us feel? Vice versa. People from different countries don't know what we are talking about in our language. Learning new languages helps us include ourselves in people's discussions wherever you go. And by keeping this in mind, I believe you can surely contribute in stopping prejudice. If you don't have time to learn a new language, that's okay. There are other ways that you can still use to contribute in stopping prejudice. For instance, experiencing cultural sites or visiting museums that are intended to teach about different culture can help you open your mind. And if you can't visit them due to COVID, you may as well visit their websites because many offer virtual tours. Or have a small talk with people you don't know very well about. You may be thinking, isn't it going to be awkward to meet with a person I'm not sure about? But finding differences and uniquenesses and even similarities in people's normal and daily lives will intrigue your interest. In other words, finding similarities between you and another person different from you, such as another race or culture, this helps us attach its bonds. Small changes help us embrace differences in our normal and daily lives. Try it, even with your neighbors when you encounter them. Everyone is different, no matter what ethnicity or race they're from. And by keeping this in mind, I believe you can stop prejudice. In brief, all these actions are what you can do: learning a new language, experiencing new cultural sites, including people who may be different from the group, being okay with vulnerability, and opening our minds to connect with others. All of these things can combat prejudice. Show others that everyone is important and deserving of empathy. And if we all show empathy to each other, there will be no more prejudice. It's okay to be different, we are all unique. But if we start focusing on what unites us, which is our humanity, rather than what divides us, which is our differences, then everyone will be included. Thank you.